Hello and welcome everyone to this week's masterclass, Inner Discovery Masterclass with Laura. Welcome everyone to this masterclass. My name is Iris. I'm your moderator today. I'm going to be just introducing Laura right now, and if you have any questions while we go, you can drop them in the chat. I'll do my best to answer you. And then there will be another space for questions answered by Laura at the end of the class. For those of you who are here for the first time, welcome everyone. This is a masterclass held by Inner Discovery, former Inner Mastery, and we are a global organization that dedicates themselves to support the expansion of consciousness and love on this planet in this moment, primarily through retreats, in-person retreats, and also these online spaces where we connect and share our comprehensions for everyone to get a chance to really connect with the deepest part of themselves. Laura, who we're sharing today, is one of the founders of Inner Discovery, one of the people who has been dedicating herself to this work for more than 10 years now. And you have all seen the text. I don't know what much else to say about her, except that she's one of my closest friends. We've been through many things together that is very difficult to explain, just for me to share with you that we are soul sisters and we have gone through everything that you could even imagine together. And I'm really, really happy and grateful to be here sharing the space with you and with her, and for you to receive what she's going to share with us today. Thank you, Laura. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Iris. Thank you, everybody, for showing up today. And first thing I want to say is that this is not a fake background. This is actually where I really am. And it's this lovely. I'm giving tonight's masterclass from our school cycle in Belgium, which is starting today. And we have been greeted by a really beautiful space that if I wasn't afraid of not being able to actually have the same setting again, I would move my camera around to show you, because it's truly beautiful. I'm here with Farah, one of our medical advisors in the organization, with Anthony, who's also currently translating. And we have tonight 4 students here and another 4 that are arriving tomorrow. So we're looking forward to creating a very beautiful setting this weekend for our school cycle here. And as seems to be becoming a tradition, starting it with this masterclass. It's the 4th masterclass I've given this year, and the 3rd one that I'm actually giving live from the start of 5th, from the start of a school cycle, which is really lovely because there's real people here around me. And this beautiful Christmas tree, which is actually also a real tree, behind me, and the fireplace. And actually this weekend is extra special for us because we will be holding a first school cycle completely without any entheogens, without any psychedelics. And it's really exciting because for 11 years we've been talking about this moment, about how the medicine is not the medicines. After you've been on the path for some time, you realize that the real medicine is inside of you, and that the ones you bring from the outside into your body are actually just reactivating the internal medicine that has always been with you. And nonetheless, after saying that for 11 years, when the moment comes to really walk the talk, it becomes very exciting to even prepare the school cycle. So it became very exciting to prepare this masterclass. And also because it ties in beautifully, coincidentally, if you believe in that kind of thing, with the topics that that I'm personally going to be developing in the school cycle over this week and the weekend. So it's actually a perfect way to begin. And as we move forward in the cycle of masterclasses that we've been given, each one of them focusing on one of the what we've called the inner evolution method premises. This one is usually one that's very simple and easy to understand, but not because of that is it less profound and I would even say essential. It's as if all the premises bring you closer and closer and closer to the core. Ultimately, they all say the same thing, yes. The first masterclass I gave was the third premise, which says you don't need an external teacher forever. Already somehow pointing at this interconnection between the external and the internal and the moments of each thing. And tonight's premise is do not create dependencies. And as usual, I'm very surprised when I see the topic of the masterclass that I'm going to be preparing and giving. And this was not an exception when I was reminded of the topic a few weeks ago, because I have to say that probably one of the things that I have always been more scared about in my life is people depending on me. And over the course of the years, I have also seen the misunderstandings that has created, especially with the people that work with me. So I somehow want to take advantage of tonight to dedicate this masterclass to the 30, 40, 50 beautiful people that are still working together with me right now, and to everybody that has worked with me in the past, and even somehow apologize if my fear of dependency has created any misunderstanding that may have been perceived as an interest on my side, or separation or exclusion on my side, or lack of support. But it's something that came to me very vividly while I was preparing this masterclass. Also, some participants in the retreats may have noticed this, that I'm very almost standoffish in some situations because of this great awareness or attention to not creating any kind of dependency. But I can see where the misunderstandings may have happened, and that it may have seemed as lack of support or disregard or not enough interest. It brings to mind a moment many years ago, before I was already on a personal path of healing and self-development, but not yet with medicines. But many years ago, my best childhood friend came to live with me in Miami, where I was living in the moment, because she was going through a very rough period. So she actually came for support, and to also have access to some of the healing modalities and the therapist, the integrative holistic therapist that had supported me in my own process. She was going through really severe chronic depression. And I remember one day she asked me, I made a salad for both of us, and she asked me if I could season the salad, and I said no to her. And I've thought about that moment for many times, because in my heart, I know that my intention was empowering, and not having her rely in any kind of depending or toxic way upon me. For her, it was like the ultimate betrayal, and she could not understand why I would not season the salad for her. And it led to a big misunderstanding, let's say. This maybe happened 20 years ago. But it's a situation that has come to mind often. Some things that happen that seem very insignificant recurringly return. And my idea is that that is because that apparently insignificant situation actually held a very, very deep message. What I would like to start off by saying about tonight's topic is that we're not going to speak about dependency as if it was something bad, as if there was anything wrong, or not even as if there was a better or worse between dependency and independency. Basically, I consider both dependency and independency two sides of the same coin, just as I consider victim and perpetrator two sides, two energies that are actually the same one, that cannot exist without the other. They are actually dependent on each other. The premise of not creating dependencies is not about the external. It's not a reaction against the external or even about the external. It's a premise that points towards returning to the core, to the center, to inner authority. And from that inner authority, being able to then reconnect to the external in a different way and from a different place. A place that's neither dependent nor independent. It's a completely different energy. It's an energy that's absolutely aligned with the universe, with existence, with life and the way it works. Because ultimately, both dependency and independency are ways in which we have learned to relate to ourselves, to others, to the world. It's something that we have learned. It's a program, basically. Because there's a moment in life where biologically, naturally, inevitably, we are dependent. And not only is there nothing wrong with that, but like I said, it's unavoidable. It's part of the cycle of life. When we are conceived, we are 100 and absolutely dependent. The mother can live without us, but we cannot live without the mother. It is a necessary dependency. And when we are born and in the first years of our life, first months, we're also dependent. We're dependent on our caretakers. A baby cannot walk. A baby cannot feed itself. A baby cannot talk, cannot find for itself what it needs in order to survive. It is therefore completely dependent on receiving what they need from the outside. And that is an absolutely legitimate and necessary biological human dependency. What then happens is that during those years of authentic, unavoidable dependency, something happens to us. Something from that outside that we need in order to survive, that external, that other, that we are legitimately dependent upon, comes into us and has an impact. It is something that we perceive as traumatic. That impact has been called many ways. I personally like to call them original wounds or original perceptions, but we can call them wounds for now. And the impact of that wound somehow stops the evolution that would naturally take us from dependency to independency to then something else. But because that natural evolution is aborted from that impact that becomes the wound, then there is a confusion, there is a blurring, there is a distortion that happens. the natural evolution is broken. It's interfered with. What happens is that in that moment where we're still dependent, like I said, on the external, and we don't receive what we need in order to survive physically or emotionally, can be either, we start to form ideas. We start to form ideas based upon that experience about the others, about our needs, about ourselves, about life in general. Those ideas might be something like, and feel, as I say them, feel how they resonate within you and which of these statements might be more or less real for you or for you in this moment. For example, it can be, safety is outside of me. Worth is confirmed from outside of me. Direction comes from outside of myself. My sense of self collapses without an external reference. These statements belong to a pattern that is developed when we compensate for that wound by needing others, be it the partner, the parent, a group of people, a guru, a teacher, money, a spiritual path, I don't even know, a physical exercise even. Something is needed in order to feel ourselves and our own existence. It's as if we were saying, if we have developed as a dependent structure, it's as if we were saying, everything is outside of me. Because everything is outside of me, I need to attach to things that are outside of myself in order to exist. Because inside of me, there's nothing. And that is one side of the coin. It generally brings more submissive style characters, victim. It can be more of a oral character structure who has had more of a wounding of abandonment. And then we have the other side of the coin, which is exactly the same situation. The needs are not met by the caretakers in the stage where you are authentically, legitimately, biologically, unavoidably dependent for your survival upon others. And let's say that then the reaction, instead of everything is outside of me and I attach in order to survive, it's exactly the opposite. It's as if you're saying, hey, others, world, existence, I'm out of here. I don't want anything to do with you. You will not be able to provide. I'll take care of it. And then instead of everything is outside of me, we have the opposite. Everything is inside of me. There's actually a lot of personal development, new age, spiritual movement that is very related to this, in the sense of before, everything was outside of me. I needed everything from everyone. I needed love, I needed trust, I needed food, I needed money, I needed spirituality, religion, whatever, something from outside, direction. But now that I'm healing, everything is inside of me. Inner mastery, no? Empowerment. I don't need the others. Self-love, self-trust, etc., etc., etc. I detach from everything in order to survive. Because attaching didn't work. Those who had to provide did not provide. So no, fuck everyone, I'm going to take care of it. So I detach. But in reality, both dependency and independency, like I said, are two sides of the same coin, because neither of them are truly free. Because true freedom has nothing to do with not needing others. True freedom is not depending on being a certain way in order to feel that we exist. Said otherwise, all of this that I've been talking about, the wound, what happened, the attachment, the detachment, all of that have created an identity. It has created our personality. The identity, the personality, the character is the way in which we think we are. And that idea, the way in which we think we are, is it a natural way? Has it appeared spontaneously from our essence, from our core, from our values, from abundance? Or has our identity appeared as a reaction of what happened to us? And if it has been created as a reaction of what happened to us, can it truly be aligned with our core? People who are independent are just as dependent as those who are openly dependent, because they depend on separation. They depend on exclusion. Their sense of self depends on not merging with others, on not needing others. So what is really the difference? To exist by needing others or to exist by not needing others? One way you reject yourself, the other way you reject the others. Choose. Which one are you most comfortable with? Which one has become your own personal way of claiming your own existence? Everything is outside. Everything is inside. There is nothing outside. There is nothing inside. What if both dependency and independency are simply mere steps of a path towards something that is the sublimation that includes both without separation? Interdependency. When I first began studying Buddhism, one thing that struck me a lot was this idea, or the way in which I was able to integrate some of the teachings, that nothing exists. Because nothing exists in and of itself. A body does not exist. A body is an interconnection of parts. An arm, a hand, a face, eyes, hair, neck. What is a body if not the interconnected interdependency of parts that come together to form one? So when we talk about interdependency, we're no longer talking about everything is outside, everything is inside. We're talking about everything is. And just like everything is, I am. I am. Not because I need, not because I don't need. I am because I am. And then from that centered connection to your true self, then yes, you can create a new way of relating to others, where the others do not exist based upon whether they meet or not your needs, whether you need them or you don't need them, they also simply exist because they also simply are. Not inside, not outside, simply being. One thing that's very challenging when we're talking about the energy of healing is that the energy of healing challenges and goes directly to a place where identity feels threatened. Because identity thrives on separation. Identity has no sense of fusion, of unity. It needs to experience that separation, be it from dependency or from independency. But interdependency is a huge threat for identity because it becomes the fusion. It's the end of the separated ego and the beginning of something much greater, where the ego doesn't disappear, but it takes a different place. And that is extremely threatening for a limited mind that doesn't know anything about what hasn't yet happened. When there is a blurring between the stages of natural, biological, unavoidable dependency that doesn't naturally evolve into a stage of biological, natural independency, the growth becomes stuck. The growth towards interdependency, which is the natural, let's say, end of the story. Interdependency is the natural end of the story, of the process, from dependency to interdependency. But because it gets stuck, it gets aborted in a moment, then we somehow fake independency at some stage in our life. And because it's a fake independency, that's when it becomes spiritualized or self-exclusion or whatever ways we find to claim that part that we did not naturally experience in our developmental stages. In interdependency, we go from not needing and being superior because we don't need, or needing and being inferior because we need. We go to, I can meet you as an equal. Not as more, not as less. We are. It's a place where I can receive without needing because I have already realized that the natural state of the universe and of existence is abundance. We have become very used to justifying our right to receive as a way of claiming our unmet needs. In the same way, we can give without controlling because we don't need anything in return. We don't give to create a dependency. We can stay without attachment. We can say no without rejecting. We can leave without abandoning. So let's, for a few moments, share a little exercise together. So I'm going to ask you to, make yourself comfortable wherever you are and simply close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and take yourself inwards. And ask yourself, in this moment, what or who do I need in order to feel okay? And when you have found it, ask yourself the next question. What is the fear that I hold behind that need? What is the fear if that need is not met? What am I afraid of? And once you have found and connected to that fear, ask yourself, how old is that fear? And if, when you find that age, how old that fear is, you can also get some insight as to how old you were when your natural development was impacted by an event that you incorporated as traumatic. It might give you some hints. During this cycle in Belgium, we're going to be going deeper into this topic of the original wound, how the body somatizes them. But I'm not only talking about the physical body, I'm also talking about the energetic body. I'm also talking about the psycho-emotional body. And how, from that incorporation of an event that was perceived as traumatic, there is a character structure that's born. And I'm not excited to open up this topic again. It's been some years that I've not gone into it. The years when I believed that everything was inside. And as I was preparing for this masterclass, there's this little notebook which I began in 2008. It was called, BBSH, which is the Barbara Brennan School of Healing, a road trip through your inner self. I was feeling very optimistic in 2008 because it's written in sparkling purple. And then in black under, it says, or life as it happens. And I began writing this, yes, in 2008, which was when I began my healing training, hands-on healing. And then it continued to over 2010 when I was going through a really bad breakup. And then I sort of left it when I recovered. And then, and then somehow, I'm not really sure how it happened, but it came back into my hands on July 30th, 2020, during that time that Iris mentioned before when we really went through everything together. And I remembered that I had written something about dependency and independency in that moment. Differentiating between dependency and independency and codependency, and distinguishing between dependencies and addictions. And then I wrote something here that I would like to share with you. I wrote, from the age of 12, I decided that I was going to be independent, free, and that they would not be able to control me. I decided that I could on my own, that I could with everything, that I did not need anybody, and above all, that I would reject anyone who would worry about me, thinking perhaps that I wasn't able to with everything on my own. Many years have had to go by so that my real and hidden thoughts could surface. The real thought is that I cannot. The real thought is that alone I cannot. The real thought is that alone I cannot do anything that's useful enough or valuable. The real thought is that I cannot have anything that's truly essential. The real thought is that I cannot truly be loved. That, furthermore, perhaps I cannot even love. And I wrote that in August 2020. And since then, of course, I learned many things. One of the things that I learned is that freedom doesn't have much to do with freeing myself. Freedom has everything to do with freeing the others from the toxic agreements that we have unconsciously created as a substitute way for authentic connection. Dependency, independency, they're just toxic agreements through which we find ways of relating that substitute the authentic depth of a bond. I have been an expert in dependent, and I have also been an expert in behaving in certain ways that have created dependency from others onto me. And realizing that I have created every single dependency has allowed me to completely free the others. And when you completely free the others from your toxic agreements, from the unconscious strings you need to form, whether through dependency or independency, in order to feel loved, to feel that you control something, when you free them, you free yourself also. Through recognizing yourself as the cause and the creator of those agreements, that is the only moment when you can truly form a bond of love, of trust, and of interdependency with that other. With that other that is simply there, waiting to receive you, waiting to be received by you. There because they want to, not because they need to, not because you need them to. And that nowadays is the only form of freedom that I long for, the one that allows for those deep human connections based on love, based on trust. not on needs, not on debts, not on demands. Thank you, everyone, for being creators of this space that we have shared tonight. Without you, this space would not have been the same because of the natural interdependency that we all share. Thank you, Iris.
Thank you, Laura, for this very deep, I almost want to say transmission. Maybe it sounds a bit too spiritual.
If there is anybody who has any questions, or if there are any questions on the chat, we can now have some space for that. Or even here, also, the live students, if you have any questions.
There's a question, Tonji. When we recognize the dependence and the fear of abandonment or rejection, what can we do to move towards interdependence? What are the elements to consider?
I have a feeling that several of us know the answer, because whenever somebody asks, what can I do? The answer is inevitably the same. There's nothing you can do. But the mere recognition is already a door opener for things to start happening. If you can recognize that you create dependencies, and it doesn't matter ultimately if it's a dependency that you create towards another, or if it's a dependency that you create of another towards you, that you're creating it as a substitution for receiving true love, what do you want to do? I mean, your own, not only your own consciousness, I have a feeling that your whole being will be extremely alert to not creating that kind of substitution through dependency. I mean, awareness is something that happens when it happens. And once it has happened, there's nothing to do with it, because it's like shining light in a dark corner. Once there's light there, what do you want to do?
So then there's one more comment from Lena, and then a sharing of Marco. Lena is sharing, for me, I've had some sort of blank when it came to the fear, as happens so often when I try to dig deeper.
I mean, it sounds like a defense mechanism. But the day will come where you won't draw the blank. No, I'm smiling because I've been chatting with Lena. This day is also about the end of year retreat in Switzerland, and I know that she was considering it. So it's very tempting to say, if you come to the next retreat, and then gives Tonchi something to do. How can I come to a retreat? No, unfortunately not. That's not how it works. But I mean, retreats are obviously a kind of field and container where certain realizations and comprehensions, of course, happen. And in that sense, they they can support very much that light being lit in the dark corners. Not exactly a doing. It's more surrounding yourself by the best circumstances and conditions where things can actually happen. To context.
Then there's a sharing. Mark was sharing what came up for him in the exercise. What he needs to be okay is honesty. And the fear when that need is not met is the attempt for manipulation, which is not a fear, it is more at causing anger or sadness or sense of rejection when feeling dishonesty or attempt manipulation. And then how old was that fear? It feels since birth. Would anyone like to share any thoughts on my personal exercise? With a critique on that, I may have misunderstood the exercise or resonation with my recognition or any kind of thought.
I would like to propose that the fear of manipulation is not something that usually comes from birth. There's another fear that comes from birth. For example, the fear of rejection. But when the fear of rejection has been elaborated into something as sophisticated as manipulation, it's pointing towards an event that was experienced as traumatic at a later mental age, more around the age of 6, and having experienced it as betrayal. And usually the betrayal comes from the opposite sex parent when it's experienced in this particular way as manipulation.
And then what we do with that, Laura?
Pieces of a puzzle that slowly come together.
He's sharing that the only traumatic event I may recognize is the divorce of my parents at age 6. I don't perceive them being honest to me, neither of them.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Marco. If anyone would like to ask questions later or get in touch with Laura, should I share your Instagram or your phone number? What do you prefer?
You can share my Instagram, my phone number, and my email also.
Yes. And then this is our last masterclass for this year. Laura, would you like to share how we continue in the upcoming year?
Well, yes. We're going to shortly be ending the cycle of masterclasses on the premises. But we're going to have one last masterclass, which is going to be given on the first premise because we somehow started on premise number 2. Premise number 1 is this method doesn't work. We left it for the last, so nobody would be put off from the first title. No, actually, it wasn't that's not how it happened, but it happened that way. And it's going to be a masterclass that's going to be given by several of us together at the same time. Right now, the current plan is for Miquela, Amar, and myself to give it together. But who knows if maybe more people decide to join. Would be a nice way of ending. And then we're going to do we're still going to be doing, actually, so we're still going to be having master classes, but they're going to be for the members of the Bean Club and it's still something that's under development. We're going to be having a few of them next year, but the idea is to have one a month for club members, and then to have weekly, no, not weekly, monthly online gatherings such as these, so open public for anybody who wants to attend, which are going to be called the Call of the Soul, and they're going to be given per language, let's say. So, for example, I'll be giving it every month in English. Iris or JB or both of them together will be giving it in German, or maybe with Amar. Anthony will be giving them in French, Farah in Spanish. And so it's not going to be one class with different translations or not. It's going to be different encounters. And with the actual master classes, we want to take them, we would really love for them to have more of a continuity in the audience, so that together we can go deeper and deeper into more complex topics, but in a way that we all go together. That's why we're wanting to develop the next master classes for the club members who are also students of our training.
Thank you. Beautiful. Well, thank you, Laura. Thank you, everybody, for joining and creating this space together. I wish you a wonderful rest of the evening and wonderful school for you there in Belgium.
Going to show our students and the house. So yeah, if anybody's still considering what for the new year, we will, Iris, I think you're sharing the end of year retreats also.
I have not, but I will now.
Yes, we have a beautiful event page with all the retreats. And I'm very inspired by this beautiful Christmas tree behind me. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for this time, this space, for creating it together.
So yes, under this link, you can find
Aaron, Fabienne, long time no see, Luisa.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Lydia.